in Greco. Aigi is the oldest capital of the Macedonian kingdom, located south of the Haliakmon River at the foothills of the present-day Pieria Mountains. That is the mountain of the nine muses and Orpheus. Aigi was an open urban formation with smaller and larger settlements scattered around and central core, the city. Aigi, with its city and its hora covering an area of approximately 8,000 hectares, was an inhabited complex reflecting a society based on kinship structures centered around royal presence and authority. The toponym Aigi, meaning the place of gods. Ex egos is the god. The city's economy relied mainly on animal husbandry and agriculture, along with arboriculture and viticulture. The forest with its game and abundant timber and the nearby river would serve as a waterway offering rich fishing, complemented the wealth, ensuring the inhabitants self-sufficiency and prosperity. During the reign of Philip II, that is, in the 4th century BC, the city of Aigi was adorned with walls, towers, grand gates, sanctuaries, and temples. Next to the brand new theater, that is the place of collective community, of collective, excuse me, next to the brand new theater, that is the place of collective communion and spiritual purification, the citizens heeded the Basileia place, sock, political marketplace, and architectural manifesto of the new era just dawned. The palace of Aigi covers approximately 15,000 square meters and is the largest building of classical Greece, building both simple and functional, and at the same time monumental and imposing, housing not the family and private life of the king, but all structures necessary for exercising multifaceted public authority. With 10 columns on the south side and 11 on the north, the palace's two colonnades was the first fully developed two-story colonnades in Greek architecture. Developed two-story colonnades in Greek architecture, okay. The outward orientation and public character of the palace colonnades are emphasized by the benches surrounding their walls, providing space for at least 120 seated individuals. The large square, the large square hall, entered through the central gate, was the main antechamber, a waiting area with benches along the side walls. From here, one entered the huge square peristyle, undoubtedly the heart of the building. Covering 4,000 square meters, it could accommodate at least 8,000 people and functioned as a gathering place for Macedonians. In the lot's three section of the west side of the largest covered spaces, it's about 280 square meters of classical architecture without internal support. The five-columned antechamber could seat more than 500 people. The luxurious three-part complex on the south side preserved the magnificent mosaic of flowers and female deity heads sprouting from flowers, Anthochorus in Greco, as well as the mosaic depicting the abduction of Europa by the bull Zeus, a theme reflecting Philip's intentions on the eve of the great conflict with the king of Asia to present himself as ruler of Europe. Next to the propylon, the sarcophagus follows, the enclosed complex with small androns and their hive recalls the idea of the pre-Prytaneum, but here the mother of the gods was replaced by the patriarch Heracles, the father of kings, a mortal son of God who triumphed over death through his virtue. In autumn 336 BC, during the Macedonian New Year and the wedding of Cleopatra's daughter to Alexander of Epirus, Philip II had the chance to present himself as a godlike ruler and commander-in-chief of all Greeks. At the height of the celebration, he was stabbed and died in the theater orchestra of Aigai. After Philip's assassination, his companions armed themselves, rushed to the palace's great peristyle just 50 meters away, and proclaimed Alexander III king. In that even below the monumental complex of the palace and theatre lies the sanctuary of Esthia. Etymologically, the word derives from Eth and Kleos, and it means "see who has good fame." Archaeological excavations uncovered royal offerings to the goddess here, notably from Queen Eurydice, so Evreviken, mother of Philip II. The sanctuary of delle, of mother of the goddess, is a precious source of information on worship in Aigi. The ancient cemeteries of the Macedonian capital extend outside the city. In the vast area beyond the walls, naturally bordered by streams descending from the Epiaean mountains, dominate the Homeric form of the tumulus. Between today's villages of Vergina and Palatizia, an area of about 5 hectares, 540 burial tumuli make up the core of the archaeological site of Aigi. The oldest mounds date back to the 11th century BC, while the main use of this part of the necropolis dates to the early Iron Age, 10th to the 7th century BC. At the heart of the ancient necropolis of Aigi lies the burial cluster of the Timenids, comprising 12 tombs dating from 270 to 300 BC. Around and beside the two earliest tombs of this necropolis, the remains of the two oldest known burial pyres of Aigi were found. Pieces of clay and bronze vessels, half-melted bronze helmets, and many other objects purified by the fire of the funeral pyre, testifying to the continuity of a custom that tightly connects the Macedonians of the Archaic period with the world of epic poetry. The Archaic necropolis of Aigi is located southwest of the Mount Cemetery. The tombs date from the early 6th to the early 5th century BC. All are simple, fairly spacious pits in various sizes. Finds from the archaic necropolis of Aigi clay vessels and figures imported from the major centers of ancient trade and distribution, Corinth, Athens, Ionian coast, etc., show the relationships that the Macedonian kingdom developed early, early on with the Mediterranean world. The burial of Filippo II took place
Eh, le posso dire? Non mi chiedo quando, ma quello di domani? Non sentirò cosa? Sì.
or shortly after the mid-6th century, not away from Aegean. Ancient architectural elements from Aegean buildings were incorporated into the church. Christian modesty did not allow the church founder and main donor to reveal his name, but the names of other donors are known, among whom stands out a woman named Daphne. Impressive in size and quality of painted decoration, the Church of St. Demetrius marks a period of prosperity and flourishing of painting in the region. The most interesting element of the monument remains its almost fully presented frescoes. Magnificent is the depiction of the Second Coming, which occupies the entire eastern wall of the Narthex. Here, Alexander the Great appears alongside the rulers of the three great kingdoms of antiquity. Since December of the year 2022, a landmark for the modern visitor of the archaeological site of Aigi has been the Central Museum building, designed to serve as the meaningful gateway to the archaeological site and the history of Aigi, the history and culture of the Macedonians, as well as the Hellenistic ecumene, since it hosts the physical headquarters of the Digital Museum Alexander the Great, from Aigi to the ecumene. This digital museum, is an unconventional museum without exhibitions or collections, an online portal dedicated to the life, campaigns, work, and influence of Alexander and his successors. It offers visitors the opportunity to follow a synthetic, scientifically valid, and accessible presentation of the hero's journey through history and myth, as well as the historical developments leading to the creation of the Hellenistic economy. At the Central Museum building of Aigi, five exhibitions are hosted. A. An exhibition of the architectural elements of the palace, featuring the unearthed part of the second floor of its center, propyla. B. A sculpture exhibition with finds from Aigi and the surrounding area. C. The main exhibition part, Memory of Aigi, aiming to bring the ancient city back to life. D. The temporary exhibition, Gift the Ecumene, in cooperation with the Numismatic Museum, attempting to approach the phenomenon of the Hellenistic ecumene through the images of its protagonists as depicted on coins. And finally, E. An exhibition of works by contemporary artists displayed in the so-called gallery of the museum. I have also to invite you to Aigi and the Central Macedonia. Thank you very much for your attention. I don't know if we have more as your time as to exhibit or to pronounce it also a small video. Have we time for that?